One of the more ridiculous comments that I receive on this channel is that I'm not doing enough to find a middle ground with people who have differences of opinion. Um, People from the right, I need to entertain their ideas a little bit more, to find some kind of compromise, some kind of togetherness, because that's the only way we can move forward, right? Is togetherness. Something and that's a concept I've agreed with for all of my life, is that people need to be more unified than apart and individual in order to make real progress in this world. The only problem there, and it's a pretty big problem, is that the right wing is full of misinformation and just straight up lies. Just straight up lies. Unashamed, unabashed. They bring lies to the table. And when you tell me I need to find compromise with some of these lies, like the lies they tell about climate change, the lies they tell about transgender issues, the lies they tell about the economy, the lies they tell about immigrants, that I have to sacrifice the facts that I know to be true because, well, I read. And anybody can do that, by the way. I'm not any smarter than anybody else. Anybody can go and open up a book or do a fact check or just think for themselves instead of letting Elon Musk do all their thinking for them. And they can find that these things that are being told from the right are just lies. It's just misinformation. There's a stabbing a couple of days ago in the UK, and before the blood even dried on the pavement, you had right wingers going on the internet saying all sorts of stuff, making up all sorts of conspiracies, and guess what? They even rioted over this. And the police had to break with their had to break with their standards and release the person's name and release the fact that they're in fact a British citizen, so that these people would calm the fuck down, because they're that childish, because they have allowed themselves to become so consumed with misinformation that they will act upon it so swiftly, so harshly. And it happens all the time, not just in real life, but also online. They brigade together over misinformation and lies to engage in harassment campaigns against people. When you bring lies to the table, in my opinion, you bring nothing to the table, and you've surrendered any right to be compromised with. There's been enough of that in human history. There's been enough of that in politics. When you've got people from different ideological backgrounds bringing in different varying levels of bullshit, and when you're in government, there's no choice. You have to entertain this shit, because then people catch on to it, and people start to say, yeah, this is the truth. This is, like when it comes to climate change, I can't compromise with somebody who's telling me that this factor, this figure is just a hoax or just made up. That I'm not supposed to listen to people who have spent their entire lives, people who have dedicated their lives and faced threats and scrutiny and all sorts of vile vitriol from the right in order to tell us that, this is a threat. These things are actually happening. And if we don't do something, it's going to get really, really, really bad. And these people are saying, oh no, based on what? Their own facts, their own figures, their own research based on 0 years spent becoming educated on matters of climate science or paleoclimatology or anything of the sort. All those people are just, they're just intellectuals with an agenda. Yeah, their agenda is trying to save this fucking world. They're trying to save it from people like you who think that everything is just okay because you heard it from Donald Trump or you heard from Elon Musk or you read on the internet somewhere, just like your grandma that you used to make fun of, by the way, who would just believe everything she heard. You heard it from somewhere on the internet. That is not malleable. That you cannot work with that. The only way to work with that is to shame it and to call it out. That's it. Because if you work with it and you allow yourself to find some sort of common ground with misinformation and disinformation campaigns, you have to surrender some of the truth. You have to surrender some of the fact in order to let a little bit of their bullshit in, just so they're happy. Just so they're happy. Fuck their happiness. You shouldn't be concerned about their happiness. They are willfully trying to disinform people. They are willfully working as extensions of right-wing governments who want people to believe this bullshit so that they can get it passed, so that they can get elected. It's truth versus lies. Truth versus lies. And where that is concerned, I'm always going to side with the truth. Always. And that's not me trying to sound like some kind of hero. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be smart or intelligent or educated to be media literate. You don't have to be well educated. At least you don't have to have a college degree. We'll say it that way, because the right wing always tries to put down people with college degrees and call them some kind of elite. You don't need that sort of education to check the facts, to make sure you know what you're talking about before you go out there and say something, to understand the power that words actually do have in society, especially a society that is becoming increasingly more likely to buy a cooked up story than to actually do their own thinking and figure out what's real and what's not. So when you tell me that I need to find middle ground and compromise with people who are being intellectually dishonest, who are acting in bad faith, who are willfully spreading misinformation, no. I mean, like, no. I'm just not. And if this is something that really truly bothers you, this is something you shouldn't be taking up with me. This is something you should be taking up with the people who are spreading the lies and the nonsense, like the lies and the nonsense about that Algerian boxer. You know, like, I thought or like, almost exclusively from the right, you've got all of this anger coming out about men's bathrooms having women's period products being stocked, like tampons, and like, oh my god, this is such a horrible thing. This is I can't believe this is happening. It's like, you how much time do you spend in the bathroom anyway, dude? Do you really want to spend that much time, especially in a public restroom? You go in, you do your business, and you go out, and oh my god, there's a tampon dispenser. Like, this thing is actually some sort of effect. But once again, that is the right acting in bad faith. That is the right saying that this is some sort of threat, that this is some kind of slippery slope that's leading us straight into communism with no evidence, with no facts. And if you don't bring facts to the table, I will not compromise with you. Period. Exclamation point. End of report. Any questions?